Well, today it was the Green Party's turn to launch its manifesto, with co-leaders Carla Denyer and Adrian Ramsey pledging to mend broken Britain. It features some very expensive pledges, like spending an extra £50 billion a year on health and social care by 2030. They want to scrap tuition fees and the two-child limit for child benefit, create 150,000 new social homes every year and introduce rent controls. Their green economic transition plan includes £29 billion to insulate homes. They'd stop all new fossil fuel projects and take water companies, railways and the big five energy firms into public ownership. And they'd pay for all this with a carbon tax on fossil fuels, an 8% national insurance rate on income over the upper earnings limit, and a 1% wealth tax for assets over £10 million and 2% for more than £1 billion. Our senior political correspondent Paul McNamara was at their launch in Hove.
Interest in them never higher. A growing army across the nation, yet a tiny presence in Westminster. But this election, the Greens are hoping to change that. Their manifesto today, not just a blueprint for a green agenda, but an entire policy platform for how they would govern.
150,000 new social homes.
An investment of £50 billion. More than any other party in health and social care.
We would invest £30 billion in insulating homes.
We would stop all new fossil fuel projects in the UK.
A commitment to scrap tuition fees.
All that and a pledge to bring forward the UK's net zero commitments by a decade.
The UK having a 2050 decarbonisation target is too late, according to the science. And also, and I say this as an engineer that used to work in the renewable energy sector, we have the technology we need to get most of the way to net zero already, right now, today.
Commitments which, all in, the Institute for Fiscal Studies say would rack up £160 billion more on day-to-day spending, plus an extra £90 billion a year on capital spending. And to pay it,
we would overhaul our tax system to make it fairer. At the heart of this would be a tax on the very richest, the top 1% of people.
On top of that, there'll be changes to capital gains tax, a rise in national insurance for higher earners and carbon taxes for businesses.
It's an awful lot that you're hoping to pay for out of these three changes to the tax system. Are you sure you're going to be able to raise just that amount of money?
Our manifesto is fully costed. We've taken
fully costed, but the numbers might be rubbish.
We've taken expert advice on this. We're confident that our estimates are robust. For the majority of earners, this will be either make no impact at all to the tax they pay or a very small increase, and in exchange for that they'll get a well-funded NHS in public hands, social care including personal care free at the point of use, fixing our crumbling schools, sorting out our public transport, all of these policies that frankly some of the other parties are also promising, but they're not being honest with voters about where the money is.
And is that your pitch, honesty here? Look, we're not going to reduce your taxes, you might even have to pay a little bit more, but stuff might work.
We're not proposing any changes to income tax during the cost of living crisis.
No, but a lot of people would say, look, well, you're not even addressing tax thresholds here. A lot of people have been drawn into paying high rates of tax. A lot more people are paying those higher rates of tax than they were 15 years ago. And you're not addressing that here. You're saying, no, you're going to carry on paying higher tax than you would have 15 years ago.
That's not our focus in this manifesto.
You don't have to go too many rooftops over for a small vision of what the Greens would want to see across the nation.
But at the end of the day, they're still saving money because they might be paying us 17p for the electricity that it generates, and they might be paying their electricity supplier 36p.
Oh, right, so it's a significant saving then?
Yeah.
And that's been the whole way through the cost of living crisis?
Yeah.
These panels were installed by a community energy group. Their review of today's manifesto, mixed.
So looking through this, what did you see that you liked?
I liked the investment in energy efficiency because the only way that we're going to be able to create clean, affordable heat is by improving the energy efficiency of our homes.
What are they not now? What would you have liked to have seen in here?
We need a reasonable, affordable energy strategy. And I didn't really see that in the manifesto.
So if you were to mark this out of 10, what would it get?
For aspiration, I would give it a 9.
Okay, that's a good start.
For a reality check, probably a 5.
The Greens say housing is a key priority and pledged building 150,000 social homes, although no commitment for any other sort of home, despite most estimates saying at least 300,000 need to be built a year. The benefit, perhaps, of knowing you won't actually form the next government.
Ultimately, my goal is getting Greens elected to deliver those policies directly, but I acknowledge that as a small group after this election, our role will be to push the government in the right direction.
For 14 years, the Greens have made do with one MP. Their ambition this election, perhaps 4. It would be a transition, they say, small in number, but vast in impact.
And this is the list of candidates running to be the next MP of Brighton Pavilion.